Welcome to our podcast called Conversations, powered by Just Talk and Lisa Listen. I am Jesse Farrell, and you are?
I am Lisa Bybee.
Outstanding. And you do what for the company?
VP of Sales and Marketing and Success Coach. What about yourself?
I've said it before, and you do it well. I am CEO of the company, do some master coaching myself, as well as international speaking, published author, and loving all of it.
Wonderful, wonderful.
We're going to have a great show today.
Yes, we are.
This is going to be one of my most favorite shows because it gives us a chance to bring in another professional that crosses over and does a lot of the same stuff, if not the same stuff that we do, and get a different perspective for people to draw from. This is going to be how life coaching can get you unstuck. Would you like to introduce this fabulous guest?
Yes, welcome, Lisa Ulshafer.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Jesse.
Yay, round of applause, round of applause.
Right on.
All right. And so this is going to be a really, really awesome show, especially with this type of program, right?
Definitely. And before we get started, I would just like to ask Lisa, being the author that she is, what inspired her to write her book, Journey with an Angel?
Oh, that's such a long answer, but I'll make it as short as possible.
Well, can I show the book while you...
Sure.
This is actually
Absolutely.
Journey with an Angel, Finding Your Way Back from Lisa Ulshafer.
Yeah.
And this is... I'm actually looking forward to reading this myself. I might have to buy one from you soon. So now you can tell us, what was your motivation for this or inspiration?
Well, what I would say is it was really when I got onto my transformational pathway, which is I'm a transformational life coach, so that's how I refer to my coaching as. It opened up my life on a spiritual level like I had never experienced before.
Okay.
So several years after I began that journey, which was, probably in 2004, when I really got down and dirty and digging inside and seeing what's going on with me and my life. I started to open up to different information around angels and the divine and really connecting on a personal level to those aspects of the divine. And so I went on a cruise to the Mediterranean in 2012, and I came across somebody who channels
Wow.
and we collaborated some on my connection to angels. Part of my connection to angels is that I was told by several different sources that I'm an incarnated angel. When I was first told that, I had no idea what that meant. So that was a journey in and of itself to find out, what does that mean and what does that mean for my life? It took me quite a while to own that, if you will. And that's what happened with the book, because that's where I owned it and then put it out there for others who might have challenges and really owning their spiritual identity, if you will.
And when you were told that you were an incarnate angel, did that come from a source above us, or did that come from a
Came
source?
through a source through other people.
Okay.
Yes.
Through multiple other people?
Yes.
Okay. Was there an incident that happened in your life that was the precursor for this understanding, this awakening, this opening?
I did. There was. I was having a lot of synchronicity in my life when it came to the number 3, angels and eagles. This was when I was not even in the transformational work, and things were just happening on a spiritual level that just were piling on top of each other. And I said, there's just something else going on here. And I just really started to pay attention really to the synchronicities that were occurring, which led me down this pathway.
Nice.
Yeah.
And that's a unique talent do you believe that on some level, all of us have that same connection on some level, but maybe cloaked and mired with stuff that blocks us from accessing?
Absolutely. I mean, we all have a spirit, right?
Mm-hmm.
It just the book goes into a little more detail on what that really means. What is our spirit? What is our soul? What's the difference, and all these things. And so then, of course, there's all sorts of different connections we might have to angels or to our spirit guides or to, God or deceased loved ones or people in history and so forth. So it's just really kind of exploring that and really just having an open mind to all the different possibilities while honoring everyone else's beliefs. You don't have to disprove somebody else in order to follow your own beliefs.
No, that's good. I think that's extremely well said. I also want to take the time, this journey of remembrance, what I'm holding here is a transformational meditation with your guardian angel.
Yes.
This is something else that you've produced. I want to hold that up so those that are watching this can see.
Yeah.
Where can people find this information? Where can they get your book, and where can they get this transformational CD?
Meditation. They can go to my website, LasVegasLifeCoach.com, or myname.com, LisaUlshafer.com.
Okay.
So
very good. This is unbelievable. Lisa, you had some really good questions that we talked about in the green room. You want to start talking through some of those questions?
Absolutely. When you think about coaching, how do you explain that to people? What is coaching?
How I describe coaching is really clearing the blocks that keep you from living the life you desire. I mean, that's very general, but ultimately we have all sorts of blocks. We have limiting beliefs. We have negative emotions. One of the things that holds us back the most is resistance. So I really help people to identify and clear the resistance that's holding these negative beliefs and emotions in place so that they can break through them and then really realize and tap into their spirit, their pure potential, and really realize their purpose and why they're here and have a greater understanding and a deeper meaning to their lives and live a life that's more fulfilling.
You use a lot of the same words that we use. We talk about, I love what you just said as an expression of what is coaching, because there's so many people out there that are doing this thing called coaching, but the real professional coaches set the tone for what you're talking about. We like to say we create a safe place for you to come and tell the truth.
Right.
Because oftentimes we don't tell ourselves the truth for all kinds of reasons, and then we're telling other people non-truths, sometimes not even thinking that we're telling them the truth.
You bet.
So we like to create a safe place to tell the truth where you're not going to be judged, you're not going to be ridiculed, you're not going to be ostracized. We want to hear the good, the bad, and the ugly, because that's the only way to really get at the meat of it.
Yes.
And we also say that we don't charge clients for our time. What we charge them for are breakthroughs. And you just mentioned that as well.
Right.
And you cannot have breakthrough unless you've had a breakdown. Oftentimes we live our lives and we have breakdowns and we don't know where to go to get correction.
Right.
Or if we go to a place to get correction, if we don't have the truth and that authenticity there, we don't accept it like it is. I just had a client recently call and say they weren't sure they were getting what they wanted or needed out of the coaching. And then looking at the problem being me without ever looking at themselves. I'm not saying that I don't have some onus there.
Right.
But you might want to take a look at yourself too.
Yeah. Well, and it's about personal responsibility. You're not going to live an empowered life without personal responsibility.
Exactly.
And so there's a responsibility that the coach holds, but there's also a responsibility that the client holds too.
Yes.
I can't jump into somebody's body and let their negative feelings go for them.
Right, exactly.
And let their resistance go, but I can show them how to.
Well said.
And I can facilitate them through that process.
Well said. And so speaking of facilitating them through that process, what is your business? Give us an idea of a quick idea of the structure of your business and how do you help people?
Well, again, I help them identify what's holding them back. What's holding them back is really their negative emotions, their fears, their doubts, insecurities, anger, sadness, guilt, shame, all these different negative emotions that we have. The resistance actually locks all that stuff down into place and powers it up. So if you think about going to the gym and doing resistance exercise, like lifting weights, the muscles become bigger and stronger over time. So when you're resisting your negative emotions, you're also powering them up as well. So the experiences that we have that we're really there to learn from get louder and more intense. And that's usually when somebody comes in and gets a coach, right? Because it's like, I don't know what I'm doing, but it's not working.
Sure.
Yeah.
So it's a very results-oriented program because I teach people how to read the results correctly. The results are the reflection of what's going on inside the part of them that they can't see or aren't aware of, and that's the subconscious.
Very well said. And we say it differently, but the same thing we say, oftentimes you don't know what you don't know.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's to tap into that, that's tapping into universal intelligence. That's, to your point, being open enough and aware enough to sit in front of a qualified professional to help open up just a wedge or a sliver of more intelligence that you didn't even realize you didn't have that.
Yes.
So how can you do something with it or about it if you don't even realize that it's missing?
Right.
Right?
Exactly.
And you also have to allow yourself to be held accountable for real. Because we as human beings, as far as I can tell so far with cognitive theory and understanding people and people science, we will let ourselves off the hook quickly.
Yeah.
And typically we don't want to do the tougher things. We don't want to do the things that make us uncomfortable.
Right.
And what I've learned is the best way to grow is to be uncomfortable about something.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a quote, the name is going to escape, Eleanor Roosevelt that said, do something every day that scares you.
Yes.
It's very, very true. Very close to that. Yeah, I get that.
So, when you get to the edge of your comfort zone and you're feeling that fear coming up to whatever intensity it's coming up, you can either recoil back or you can lean in, lean into the fear and grow and expand. And that's where a fulfilling life comes from, is leaning into the fear.
Feel the fear and do it anyway.
Yeah, the clients that we've served over the years that have had the most maximum growth are those that have done exactly what you just said.
Yes.
I can think of some, as I'm listening to you, I can feel and see the scenarios from how when they first started, how limited and sheltered and I'm going to use the word bamboozled that they were about their life and life circumstances, and bringing to them what we call, if they will allow us to show them the mirror, and they look into that reflection and tell the truth about that reflection, then we can tell the truth about what's really going on in their life, not their perception of what's going on in their life.
Yeah.
And that's created, can you not see dozens of clients when Lisa Ulshafer was saying that? Can you not see those in your mind too?
Oh, absolutely. Speaking of clients, who is your ideal client?
You know, I've worked with the ages from 14 to 86. My practice is probably made up of 2/3 women, 1/3 men. I work with a lot of couples. But it's just really people who are dedicated to changing their lives, who are ready to change their lives. Not everyone's ready.
No, even if they say they are.
Even if they say they are, yeah.
Because when they have to do the work, sometimes they realize they have to do the work, and then they leave.
Yes.
Yeah, Lisa's right. A lot of resistance.
With people with an open mind, because your mind is like a parachute. It works best when it's open.
Yes.
And having that teachability, that receptiveness, and again, the commitment to do the work, because it's work.
Yeah,
it is work.
Sure.
And I want to help people get to the point where they really enjoy the work.
Yeah.
Just because it's work doesn't mean you can't enjoy it.
Right.
So we really like to find a way to make that happen as well. Yeah. But when you think about coaching styles, are you familiar? I'm sure you are, but I want to ask: are you familiar with the coaching styles of like a Cheryl Richardson or Tony Robbins or a Brian Tracy?
You know, when I was in high school, so years ago,
right.
You know, actually I'll be 52 this year, so that was 30 some years ago. My dad's library had Tony Robbins in it, Napoleon Hill. My mom had Wayne Dyer at that time cassette tapes.
Those are the
Zig
greats.
Ziglar. So I've grown up with a lot of these teachers. I tended to sway more towards Wayne Dyer type of teaching. But certainly with, I have a lot of business background, so I'm going to be, down the Brian Tracy, Darren Hardy, Jim Rohn avenue, but that's been more applicable more to the business side, I would say, some to the personal development side. But the Wayne Dyer is more what I would consider transformational type work. Who else might be in that category?
Those are some really good
Marianne
ones,
Williamson.
Yes. She's one of my favorites.
Yeah. And so, obviously, Deepak Chopra, Debbie Ford, who does a lot of shadow work, who passed away, I think about a year or so ago, but she did some phenomenal work. There's a great movie called The Shadow Effect, which I recommend to everyone that I work with, that really helps people to understand the aspect of themselves called the shadow. And that's a lot of work that I do, which was originated with Carl Jung, psychiatrist Carl Jung. And so a lot of the healing work that I help people through is really loving and accepting their shadow side, the part that they don't want anybody else to see, the part that they're ashamed of or embarrassed by, that they judge, that they deny, that they beat up, that, they hold in such sometimes hatred. And that creates more darkness in their life.
That's really huge. Ladies, what if someone is in need of a life coach and they can't afford it? How can they get help? What could they do if they couldn't afford the services of a Lisa Ulshafer or our services? What could they do?
Well, I would say there's so much available to us online. Just type your problem into Google and see what comes up. I do that for certain people. It's just like, okay, well, what would be some tips or techniques for this particular situation? But there's so much available to us online. Obviously, that doesn't take the place of experience and human interaction, but it's certainly a step in the right direction.
I agree. And I think, I really believe it gets down to they have to prove and show that they really want it. And their resources, abundant resources, all around. I know that when I was at my deepest crisis in terms of a professional situation, it was Brian Tracy that showed me the mirror. And his book, Action Strategies for Personal Achievement, he taught me at the time when I thought I was stuck in the industry, the hospitality industry for 36 years. I thought that was all that I could do to make a living at the level that I wanted to make a living. And Brian said, well, he said many things in that book, but the two things, and I've shared this many times, but the two things that were so profound that he shared that really flipped my whole world to a positive before I even knew about coaching was, if you will read an hour a day in your field of study, you'll become an expert in that field. I'm going, I can do something else just by reading?
Yes.
And then he says, if you don't know your best gifts and talents, he says, ask 10 or 15 people close to you what your best gifts and talents are. They will tell you. And when I did that, I was astonished at what they told me. I had no clue that those were my gifts and talents. I thought it was just something I liked. I thought it was a hobby. And so it was in that one single book that I left corporate America after 36 years and built Just Talk, where we get to empower and inspire others, much like you do.
Right.
And it happened because I picked up that book, like you just said.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You know, one of the books when I was a teenager that I picked up, and I'm pretty sure it was this book. I never found the actual content, but there was two things that I read. I believe it was Napoleon Hill, Master Key to Riches. And the two things that stuck with me since I've been a teenager are, when you feel your problems are just insurmountable, go out at night and lay down in the grass and look up at the stars and realize that it just kind of brings things into perspective.
Yes.
And the other thing was, whatever you do, do it to the best of your ability. And I have taken that so to heart in how I've approached my life, and it has served me well.
That's huge. Yeah, everything she's saying is just resonating with me. When we serve clients, if there are clients that feel that what we have to offer is not serving them, we prefer to give them their money back for that month's coaching or whatever, and help them find other resources.
Right. Because
we like to sleep at night. We are constantly doing our very, very best. And if that's not good enough, then we have to not take it personally and move on.
Right.
But we want to start to grow our business, and we are actually going to start to grow our business where we're going to create an online product that we can serve. And I know you have been down that track too. So tell us about where you stand with that, and tell us first what it is so people get it.
Sure.
And you sampled it for us, and I'm telling you, you are freaking killing it. It looked phenomenal.
Thank you. Well, you know, this is a new endeavor for me.
Sure.
So there's been a lot of learning curve and a lot of time and a lot of work. My book came out in March of last year, so that took about 2 years to really get to fruition. And then in May of last year, I started really getting down and working on the course.
Sure.
It's a 6-week course. It's called Roadmap to Self-Empowerment. It's very in-depth. I do cover all these different aspects of self, such as the ego and the shadow side and our spirit and our masculine and feminine side and breaking through our limiting patterns and beliefs and so forth. So it's a very expansive course. It's very in-depth, but it's doable also. I have one of my strengths, I guess you could say, is being able to articulate complex principles in a very simplistic way.
There we go.
So people can understand them.
And use them.
And apply them. Because, you know, what good is information if you're not putting it into application?
I agree.
Right?
I agree.
So, and it will have, you know, some personal or group coaching as well, and a private Facebook community, all that. And then leading into that course is a 3-video series that's available for no charge. It's also very value driven. I believe about really providing value for people that they can apply right now into their lives and see things from a different perspective, because I think that's a lot of what a coach provides is objectivity and a expanded perspective, a higher perspective, so that you don't get mired down in the limited perspective that you might see your challenges from or yourself from.
Right. That sounds really remarkable. I love that. Doesn't that sound good, Lise?
Yeah.
And that leads me to what I want to share also is along with our standard coaching for what we do, we've created this. It's a master coaching piece.
Nice.
And what we're going to do with this, what we do with this actually, is we can take someone, we just did an Awakening Day. It's an intensive program. You can show that there. And this will cover everything from their goals to their wants and needs to life balance to structure. This covers the awakening process in terms of what you need to bring your life to where you want to be.
Yes.
We look at what matters most from Hiram Smith. We designed some concepts around that to get your values and your roles in alignment with one another. And then there's what we call the focus system. The focus system allows you to have an integrated system that all of your task management related matters are all in one refined system so you can
Yes.
work more swiftly.
Right.
Well, we do this on the normal coaching program, but on the Awakening, we do in one day what would take 9 to 12 months on the regular program. That's what we call boots on the ground, face-to-face, that sort of thing. But
Right.
the online product, the one that we are in the process of now creating to catch up with the Lisa Ulshafers of the world is...
I'm not that far ahead of you.
Yeah, but your stuff is so brilliant. It's the best I've seen, and we've done a lot of homework on that. But we're going to create several online products. The first one we know is going to be the power of ask, because we believe that that's what society is missing. A lot of people are afraid of asking for all kinds of reasons.
Right.
And then we're going to do how you leave them feeling marketed piece as well. That'll be an
Right.
online product. So we've got several that are in the queue.
Yeah.
But I think the power of ask is going to be the first one. What are your thoughts on that, Lise?
Well, just based on anytime you tell somebody what it is and what it's done for our lives, everyone wants a piece of it. You know, it's very intriguing.
It is. And so what is our reason for creating this? I've resisted it for a long time, thinking people don't want those kind of products. They want the live body, but that's not necessarily true because everybody's so busy. What they want is they want the power on demand.
Yes.
Which is what you get with an online product.
Right.
Because maybe they can't schedule to have us fly in, or maybe they can't afford to have us fly in, but they can afford the online product, or they can afford it, but the timing's terrible.
Yes.
Or maybe it's a nucleus of a team that they're all in different time zones. The companies are spread across the globe.
Right.
So now that online product they can get it on demand and work it when they want to work it.
Absolutely.
And so that's why we're going to that. What was your reason?
It removes the limitation of how many people you can reach.
Right.
You know, people have been asking me for years, can I do something online? And I just wasn't ready. So now it's, it removes that limitation. I think it's so important for people to hear this information that we're all doing, the power of ask and the work that you do as well as the work that I do, because people need that type of positive, higher vibrational influence in their lives because they get so much of the other kind of influences in their lives. So we need that. We live in a world of polarity, right? So
we do.
We need to counterbalance that with as much as positive influence as we can, insightful, again, knowledge that they can really apply. It's not just conceptual, but it's experiential.
Don't we talk about that all the time?
Yeah.
About surrounding ourselves with positive people, that there's a lot of negativity out there. And a lot of people don't even realize that they're perpetuating negative energy. And
because it's just their being. It's the way they're used to.
It is. And we have brilliant exit strategies that we invoke to move away from toxic people and negative people.
Yeah.
And I think that's huge. So I love what you just said about that. Right. Let's talk about this. Where can people find the value in subscribing to your first online product, and when is that going to launch?
The launch hopefully will be at the end of April, but I'm not putting any, firm deadlines because I've learned we've all kind of caught the bug here from what's going around here in Las Vegas. But so that delayed. So I know there's divine timing and then there's your timing.
Exactly.
And that does not always correlate together. So I'm just continuing to proceed forward, hopefully to launch it by April 24th. But again, that may or may not happen, but that's the goal. Right,
but it looks really polished, and it looks like it's ready to go, ready to plug in.
It's very close. It's very close. And so, the value is, again, being able to really see themselves and their lives from a perspective that will empower them, that they can apply. One of the things that I talk about is when you take on the responsibility of you and your life, and you have the courage to really get onto or proceed forward in your transformational pathway in a conscious and responsible way, you not just benefit yourself, but you benefit those that you love in your life, and you benefit the planet as a whole.
Yeah, move it one step forward. That's well said.
Absolutely.
I like that. I want to ask also along with that is, tell the audience, if you can, where they can find you. And when you do, you can speak into that cool camera over there so they catch you straight up. Tell them where they can find you if they want to enlist in your services and your help.
Okay. I have a website, LasVegasLifeCoach.com, all spelled out, or my name, LisaUlshafer.com. Very
good. And I'm going to just kind of announce our next speaking events, and then I want to come back to the conversation. But our next speaking events, it's going to be a goal setting and team building program for the Lee Group, and that's going to be in Houston. And that is a fabulous client. We had that client, we served them for 12 years, and we've been off not serving them for 4 years, but now They're welcoming us back into their home, and there's a brilliant leader by the name of Ann Lee, who's just an inspiring person to connect with and has meant so much to our lives and our development. Wouldn't you say, Lise?
Absolutely.
So we get to serve her again, so that's very exciting.
Yes.
And then we get to go to a night of inspiration in Vancouver, and we get to team up with the Ciccone family, Anthony Ciccone, Rob Ciccone, Sal Ciccone, and then, of course, Sal Adia, who's just at the top of the hill for us in terms of us being able to work together and create something that whole city of Vancouver can have a great time with. So that's going to be cool.
There's Mr.
And
Sal.
then Mr. Sal right there. There he is, smiling and grinning like he always does. So that night of inspiration is going to be something we're very much looking forward to. And then we get something really fresh and new, hot off the press, is peak performance training for RVC outdoor destinations in Yosemite is where it's going to start. And Yale Spina is the chief operating officer there that we get to team up with, and that's going to be an extraordinary event to get in that environment and learn what those general managers have to go through and find a way to help raise their game from wherever they stand to peak performance, and it's just super, super exciting. And I wanted to share that as part of what we're up to, but it all funnels back to what we're talking about here from the coaching perspective. Yeah. So let's just share some. We've got about 3-4 minutes left at best on the show. Let's just share, do you have a quick success story really quickly that you could share from someone you serve without using the name or unless they've authorized you to use their name?
Well, gosh, I've got a lot of testimonials on my website. Let me see if I can pull one up really quick. Yeah, I have a girlfriend of mine. Well, she became a girlfriend actually after we coached for a while, but her name is Sandra, and she's, a pro Lisa. She wouldn't mind if I said this, but she was really in a dark place in her life, but on the outside, her life looked perfect. Everything was going, successfully and, in a family and marriage and business and so forth. But she was missing a lot on the inside. And so when we found each other, if you will, everything started to change. And she now has more of that fulfillment inside. So her outside more matches her inside now, where she's really feels more authentic in her life and so forth. There's so many different people that I've worked with, and even on a health level, because our emotions affect our physical health. I had someone come in with a migraine for 5 days, and she came in with a migraine, and with the process that I use in coaching, it was gone in 10 minutes.
Nice.
And I don't touch. I don't, I just,
that's brilliant.
I just facilitate people through a series of questions.
I love it. I love it. And that's really good that you said that, because coaching is also about not giving people the answers. It's about asking the right questions. Well said. Yeah. Is there, I don't want to put you on the spot, Lisa, but is there a very quick coaching triumph or story or success story that you might want to share too before we close? We've got about 2 minutes.
Why don't you give yours first, and I'll see if I can pull mine down, since I process.
Sure, no worries. The one that comes close to mind to me is not one that I didn't even know that I was coaching. There was a gentleman that I had worked with from my marketing days, and I could sense and feel that there was something going on with him, that there was a missing. So my intuition is one of the best things I use in my coaching program, is intuition and confidentiality. And something told me just to reach out to this guy daily, and I'd call him every day. And after about 2 years, he sent me this signed bag by Tiger Woods. And I said, I don't know what this is all about. He says, you talked the pistol out of my mouth every day that you called.
Wow.
And I didn't even know.
Yeah.
That was huge. I won't say his name, but if he's ever watching this, he knows who he is. And I was just blessed to know that a simple, quick phone call every day helped him stay alive. And I didn't even know it.
Yeah.
So that's something different.
That's wonderful.
I guess it would be, I'm not going to name names either, but a lady that came to us, that came to one of our conversations, and we thought it didn't do anything for her, and yet she called 6 months later and became a client, and her life has gone just soaring from that moment. So still a client, and happy to have her with us.
You see, so at the end of the day, in the spirit of all that we do, it's about helping shape and reshape lives. It's about transformation. It's about education. It's about the question. It's about the intensity and the authenticity. It's about showing up. Right?
Yes.
And we have to say that this has been a wonderful podcast season for us. And our director, Scott, has been extraordinary in teaching us many, many invaluable lessons on how to pull off these great shows. And so let's put Scott on camera to say thank you. How about a round of applause for Scott? Yeah. We are ending our podcast season from this show, and I couldn't think of a better way to end it, because when I think of the Lisa Ulshafers of the world and I think of the Scott Whitneys of the world, they always do something that's just really over the top about leaving people feeling a certain way. What is that?
All about how you leave them feeling.
All right.